we're being joined in by Tatyana Kukhareva, who's a senior journalist. She's joining us live from Moscow. Now, Ms. Kukhareva, this is something which the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been lobbying for a very long time. And every single time has been given some loud assurances that the NATO nations stand with Ukraine, but there is no roadmap for Ukraine to become a part of the NATO military alliance.
Well, indeed, you're absolutely correct. And we'll have to, I'd have to bring you back to even before the conflict. There was the same story with the EU membership that actually started this whole situation that we find ourselves in. In 2013, when the then president of Ukraine refused to sign the European integration agreement that would de facto bankrupt the country. And in the meantime, the public took it very harshly, the nationalists that, then began the whole of the madness that Maidan was, and which led then to the coup d'etat. It was the same story. Europe was always talking about kind of accepting Ukraine, but not really. And it's the same story with NATO, but that actually Russia has been talking about for years now, that, we know it. It's in the charter. Ukraine cannot be accepted when it has a war in its territory. And finally, it's actually pleasing to see that the president of Ukraine finally says these words himself, but it just shows you the other side of this conflict.
Right.
And there's a very interesting comment that Rishi Sunak, made today as well, when he was asked about the comment that Ben Wallace made, that Ukraine needs to show gratitude. And Mr. Sunak actually said, that Volodymyr Zelensky has shown gratitude for our leadership and support, meaning exactly that. The Western powers are finally admitting that it's their leadership that brought us to this whole situation. Unfortunately, these comments, kind of slide by and don't make it into the public's, into the spotlight, unfortunately.
No, but this of course, is a headline that will be talked about for days to come, where Ben Wallace snubbed Zelensky, saying that the West is not an Amazon delivery service to keep delivering weapons to Ukraine. But the question I want to ask you is this, with the developments that have taken place at the NATO Summit in Vilnius, now, Ukraine hasn't got a roadmap for a NATO membership bid, but what it has got is a NATO-Ukraine Council, which will look forward for the logistics of how Ukraine will be fighting its war from henceforth. What difference do you think this NATO-Ukraine Council will make?
I think it will make absolutely no difference at all. Be that as it may, they do have a council now. They didn't have it before, but that didn't stop NATO countries from meddling in this whole situation from the very beginning. Again, 2014, we saw the Polish representatives there. We saw Victoria Nuland back in the day, handing out cookies. And I know we keep talking about these images, but that was very clear from the very beginning just how much NATO states, especially the US, is involved in this conflict. And just giving it an official kind of representation does not change the fact that this was an orchestrated affair from the very beginning. And, brings me to the earlier comment that I, told you about. Rishi Sunak saying Ukraine is thankful for our leadership. So Absolutely. Who is, being the leader in this conflict?
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Tatyana Kukhareva, for joining us from Moscow and getting us all those insights there.
Good evening to you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.